Hi everyone, I'm going to be talking about how we use social media as a form of defiance or rebellion against authority. And the reason for this is I wrote this as a research paper for one of my first year writing classes about like a little more than a month ago, and I thought it'd make a good topic for a video. So using the internet as a form of defiance isn't technically like a new thing, it's just become a lot more commonplace. So to share some statistics, 74% of American adults currently use Facebook. 90% of adults aged 18 to 29 use some sort of social media in America. And these statistics include social media as anything from Facebook, Reddit, Tumblr, YouTube, any of those types of sites. So at first, I want to talk about Twitter. So if you're not familiar with Twitter, I'm going to talk a little bit about how it works. So the 140 character limit is to make it so people have to keep their tweets short and concise and to include only necessary and meaningful content. Some users choose to include a hashtag in their tweets, which categorizes their tweet into a certain category or topic or discussion. One way Twitter has been used for defiance is the Occupy Wall Street movement. This movement started in September 2011 when people were protesting actually by occupying Wall Street. However, on Twitter, the hashtag Occupy Wall Street gained some popularity. There was actually a study that followed the Occupy Wall Street hashtag and other hashtags like it. Soon after Occupy Wall Street started, other Occupy protests started happening in places like Oakland and Seattle. What the study showed was most of the hashtags that were shared weren't from the people who actually organized protests. Most were just tweeting either solidarity or discussion about Occupy Wall Street and the other protests. However, in May 2012, after the hashtag had reached its peak point, the levels decreased to those seen in the beginning of the movement, which were pretty minuscule. Those who were still using the hashtag were the ones who organized the event and joined in the very beginning. This isn't to say that the movement was a failure at all. As the study went on, it showed that people who were using the hashtag were more likely to participate in discourse discussing foreign events and domestic policy. Now, this could also lead to defiance, which could be as small as posting a political meme on Facebook or organizing more protests. Now let's move on to a different topic, Arab Spring. In specific, let's look at Egypt. But this time, let's look at Facebook usage. Facebook has a feature which lets users create events and groups which they can then invite other users to. The incumbent government at the time used measures to prevent protests such as shutting off partial internet access to their citizens. However, this didn't stop many tech-savvy citizens from helping others get around this restriction. Twitter and Facebook were both used as a platform to organize protests and to inform others where police are. And I think more importantly, the images of what was happening. But I think more importantly, the images of what were actually happening, like the firing of rubber bullets, the fire hoses, the actual protests, the Molotovs, were able to make it out into the public. People around the world were seeing what was happening in Egypt. Social media was being used as a way to organize, stay safe, and show the rest of the world what was actually happening. Now let's look at an example that isn't as much physical as the other two examples. Now let's look at Tumblr. Now as of December 3rd, 2015, Tumblr had 268 million blogs. They also had over 125 billion posts. Unlike Twitter, people on Tumblr usually share other people's content instead of posting their own. This is called reblogging, and it results in people's original content being seen by many people. Now, according to a study entitled Tumblr is home to many people who consider themselves part of a fandom, and users described that it was easier to share their own thoughts or feelings on Tumblr than it was in real life. People felt easier to join groups or fandoms on Tumblr than in real life because there were no real requirements online to be part of these groups. All you had to do was discuss it, and you were automatically in the group. Now, to relate this back to Defiance, this study focused on the identity of the Tumblr users. Unlike Twitter or Facebook, Tumblr doesn't require any personal information to create an account. All you have to do is provide your email, a password, and a username. One user said that they can be themselves more online than they are in real life. They can talk about what mattered to them, what they wanted to watch on TV, how they felt about certain characters, and they didn't have to hold back like they would have to in real life. They didn't have to worry about boring other people or worry about if what they were saying was interesting or not. Arguably, this is a form of defiance. It isn't directed at a certain individual or organization or anything of that type. However, there's sort of a social stigma against being overly enthusiastic about things in the real world, especially when the majority of society doesn't understand what you're talking about. So instead of keeping their enthusiasm to themselves, they go to Tumblr where their enthusiasm and ideas flourish. So most global news has been dominated by Daesh. I really hope I pronounced that right because I'm really not good at these types of things. Daesh is what many countries and people around the world are coming to call ISIS or ISIL, or now it's actually a loose acronym for the Arabic phrase of the Islamic State of Syria and the Levant. The word's being used because it's actually similar to an Arabic word that means to one who crushes underfoot or to sow discord, which Daesh is not very fond of. They've even threatened to cut out the tongue of anyone who uses the word. But use of the term Daesh has been circulating on Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, and many other social media sites, showing that many people without even doing much can participate in Defiance in some way. However, Daesh has been using social media to their advantage too. They've been using sites like YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter to recruit other people to join in their cause. It's been said that recruiters make the recruitees feel like they're Batman, that they have a sense of purpose, and that they can wage war on injustice. The target of these efforts seem to be young adults who are more likely to use social media. This is important because people at this age are in the developmental point in their life where they start to question who they are and what kind of difference they can make in the world. According to Eric Erickson, who is a psychoanalyst, people at this stage want to know how they can make their life count. Now, one tactic Daesh uses to recruit people is recruitment videos. Now, one of the recent videos entitled No Respite targets America, nationalism, and Middle Eastern borders. What might be striking about the video is they don't actually lie. And by that, I mean they don't provide false information. A lot of the information they provide are about US military budget and military casualties. However, the video never mentions any of the iconoclasm or violence towards innocent people that many people would disagree with. And the video seems very well made. So it's becoming pretty evident that social media isn't just being used for people to connect with old high school friends and share baby photos. It's being used as a tool for people and organizations to communicate with a wider audience. Now, there are many more examples I could have explained in this video, but it would have made this video way too long. Social media is part of our society now. I mean, news stations have social media correspondents. You look at how social media shapes events that are currently going on and what effects they could have in the future. And increasingly, social media has been used for Defiance, as seen through the examples I provided. Now, I'm not trying to paint social media as a good or bad thing. For example, I'm using it to communicate my information with you right now. It all depends on how one person uses it to their advantage.